Bobby, welcome to the program, man.
Thank you, Brian. I'll tell you, this has been a long time coming. We talk over Twitter all the time, and I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, exactly. Same here. So tell me if this intro sounds good, appropriate. You're a magician, you're an author, you're a ghost hunter, and a family man, not necessarily in that order.
Exactly. No,
That
you
sound about
nailed
right.
it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's exactly it. Yeah, yeah.
So I
And
have some questions, and we're not going to refer to them. I might run through them really quick just to prime your mind as to
sure,
what in the conversation I want to hit. But um, people might be wondering, why is the host of a podcast called Searching for Political Identity talking to a paranormal expert? And the reason is because I'm searching for truth, right? I'm searching for truth in life and politics. And the question of whether it's aliens, interdimensional beings, ghosts, what is going on around us, guys? Is there more to, reality than what meets the human eye? So I'm searching for truth. And that's why this makes sense to me. So again, thank you for joining me. What I want to try to hit are, why do we like magic? And I assume it's because it's a sense of wonder that we can tap into, acknowledging that there is more to meet to reality than meets the human eye, that at least that we understand. What got you interested in ghosts? What are ghosts? Should we be scared of ghosts? And what are your thoughts on this UAP phenomenon? But those are just questions I wrote down. Let's get to the conversation.
sure.
Bobby, where do we begin in a conversation about ghosts?
Okay, so we're starting with the paranormal. Um, I mean, the first thing people always ask me wherever I am, because they know that I'm a published author on the subject. I've written two books so far, and one was an Amazon bestseller. And the thing is, ghosts and spirits and spirituality have been part of the human experience since the beginning of recorded history. I people ask me, "Do you actually believe in ghosts?" And I say, "Well, I mean, should I believe that you're standing here right next to me?" They're like, "Yeah, because I'm standing here." I said, "Yes." Well, I passed the point of belief a long time ago with ghosts. Being a paranormal investigator since 1989, I'm actually going to be 60 years old in March. So I've been doing this a very long time, and I've had so many experiences that it's no longer a question of belief to me. I know there's something out there. What is it exactly is really what we're trying to find out at this point. But there are unexplained experiences, spiritual experiences. And as a paranormal researcher or an anomalous researcher, I like to call myself because that's what we do. We investigate anomalies. Um, we're trying to get to the bottom of these answers. We're trying to, figure out exactly what all of this is. And a lot of people say, and a lot of people say, yeah, but ghosts, I don't know. I'm like, look, do you believe in God? And a lot of people say, yeah, I believe in God. I says, well, the Bible tells us that God is spirit, whether it's the Old Testament or the New Testament, it says the same thing, God is spirit. I said, it's the same thing. I said that intangible part of you that we believe goes on after death, that's what a ghost is.
Hmm.
It's just that these anomalies that we call ghosts are we believe, the essence of the human being that has not moved on for whatever reason. And there's also one other type of haunting that we call residual hauntings, but that's something else altogether. But that's really what it is. And I think the experiences of humans since the dawn of civilization, um, they've all had this innate, intuitive knowledge that the consciousness survives death. I mean, even Neanderthals, there is evidence that they buried their dead with some ceremony, actually burying them with tools and whatnot, which back then were very valuable. But they would bury them with the dead. Um, Researchers believe because they thought that the dead were going to have to use them in the afterlife. So I think it's always been a part of us.
Yeah, consciousness seems to be the big buzzword
Mhm.
in the documentaries that I watch on Netflix about aliens, which I'm sure
Right,
everybody has watched. They talk about the science of consciousness and how that's going to be the next big step in our understanding of reality.
right.
This idea that there is a field, and I'm no expert, there's a field of consciousness. And like I said earlier,
Yes.
it's much what we see and hear and taste as human beings is a very small fraction of reality. And this idea that we are not just physical beings, that we are
Correct.
spiritual beings with so spiritual conscious beings. It's all about consciousness, and it's a lot to unpack.
It really is, and you hit upon one of my favorite subjects because I follow Dr. Robert Lanza, which Time Magazine actually recognized as one of the most important scientists of the 20th century. He actually mapped the human genome, and he's got some great books out. One is called Biocentrism, where he uses quantum physics to
Hmm.
explain
Hmm.
the survival of consciousness after death, and uses the experiments like the double slit experiment, if you're familiar with that at all. And there's also some notable medical doctors that are now jumping on board saying that, your consciousness, when you envision a sunset, when you have a dream, that's not really happening in your brain. Your brain is more of a receiver,
Hmm.
and the neutrons firing in your brain, it's just like the circuits in a transistor radio that's receiving, broadcasts from outside of the radio, but the radio is necessary to decode those radio frequencies into things that we can actually understand. And the human mind is very much like that, because I mean, even look at dreams. I mean, most people never stop to think that, you have a dream, and you see all these vivid landscapes in a dream, and you meet people in dreams that you've never met in real life. And scientists say that dreams happen in a nanosecond. They happen like that when you're sleeping.
Hmm.
So if that's the case, do you think your mind is really capable of creating all these things that you experience in dreams in a mere nanosecond? A lot of people are saying you're not. You're actually in an altered state of consciousness in a dream, maybe even in a parallel dimension.
Right.
And
Mm.
I actually buy into that, honestly, because I don't think it's possible for the human mind to create some of the dreamscapes that we experience. So,
Mm.
but I think it all ties together
Yeah, and we're living in an age where if you even approach this subject in the mainstream, you're ridiculed because
all the time.
we have been programmed to think that, I guess, as atheists, we've been programmed to think that life is very
100%.
mundane, that we're just living in the five senses.
Yeah, and especially if you go around Twitter, you're really going to see this. And we are absolutely programmed to be atheists. In fact, I think in here in the US, it's worse than anywhere else in the world. Because let me give you an example. Over in Scotland, the University of Edinburgh has an accredited course in parapsychology. Not one university in the United States, even though they might have parapsychology courses, they don't have any degrees in parapsychology. Why is that? All parapsychologists are scientists that are trying to pursue the unknown,
Hmm.
which is really what all
I was
scientists are
just going to
doing
say,
to
it sounds like any scientist.
exactly. But when it comes to anything that approaches the paranormal or the supernatural, it's shunned by academia. And it's exactly what you just said. And I know you have a lot of political people that watch your podcast, but I will say that's a very Marxist angle, because
Mm.
one of the central tenets of Marxism is atheism.
Hmm.
And I do believe that. I believe that academia, especially in the US, I'm not saying that all over the world. I'm saying it right here. I think we are very steeped in that mode of thinking. And I think that's one of the reasons that we experience what we experience. And yeah, I mean, people want to believe that they're the top of the food chain. And once you
Hmm.
say that there's something after life, all of a sudden they're not the top of the food chain anymore. Now there might be a God. Now they might
Hmm.
have accountability. And people,
Mm.
a lot of people don't want that. A lot of people don't like that.
Mm. Yeah, this is one theory that I've been exposed to recently, and it ties in UAPs with all of this. And so, in my mind, this is the grand theory, as outlandish as it may seem to a mainstreamer. And I'll tie in with UAPs. And you can't deny, even if you are a mainstreamer, that UAPs are in the news. They're in the freaking news. Okay.
They are.
So the theory is that from what I can tell, is that there is much more than meets the human eye. That's the first point. It's a 4-point theory. Um, and this is the QAnon shaman, Jake Chansley. This is what I distilled from his speeches on the subject. And it ties into what I've noticed in the last several years. People talk about a great awakening, all of this going on. So, what is the big outlandish theory? In my mind, here it is. One, there's much more to reality than meets the human eye. Two, there's two types of life is the universe is teeming with civilizations that we cannot see, and there are two types of civilizations. Ones that ascend, and I use the word ascend to mean to be able to travel between dimensions to gain all these amazing abilities, so to speak, through technology,
Hmm.
and the ones that ascend through nature. And the ones that ascend through technology are considered bad, are considered low vibrational entities because they, as people, their society, it doubles down on machine learning so much and they merge with the AI that they become a hive like society. They are basically, that's when you get into the gray aliens and the
Hmm.
biological AI. I think what they're saying is they've gone down the road of technology so far that they've got these amazing abilities, but they're a total hive society and they're completely disconnected from God, from the ultimate source. And so they're just bad. It just kind of ties into the concept technology is bad. And the other civilization type is this divine type that gains these powers, abilities to travel through dimensions and what have you through ascending, um, through growing their consciousness, essentially getting closer to the source. And we are, as human beings, in this battle between these two types of civilizations. That's the grand theory. And tying it with communism and human history, then, is this unfolding battle between those two forces. And atheism and communism would be in service of the low vibrational entities, so to speak. And that's what a lot of the Trump base, whether they're conscious of it or not, believe, I think. There is a battle, a spiritual battle for our souls, for humanity.
Hmm. Hmm.
And collectivism is tied, and transhumanism, transgenderism, all of this, put it together. And doesn't that fit neatly into this hypothesis that these people are afraid of a hive society where the human connection to God is gone, individualism is
Oh,
gone?
there's no
Those
doubt.
are the two camps. How do you feel about that?
Yes. Well, yeah, I totally believe that. And let me preface this
Mm.
by saying, though, even though politically I might lean to the right, you know, the far right drives me as crazy as the far left.
Mhm.
I try to take the middle ground on a lot of things. Um, because the fundamentalists, which the Trump base is in large part fundamentalist, they hate what I do. They hate what I do as a paranormal researcher. Now, you might think that's odd,
Yeah, why is that?
but they believe all ghosts are demons,
Hmm.
which I don't believe at all. Do I believe they exist? Quite possibly, but I don't believe all ghosts are demons. They do. And they take a very strict stance on that. And they think that what I'm doing is very dangerous.
Gotcha.
They believe that all your spiritual answers should be found in church.
Hmm.
Give your 10% tithe
Right.
and find your answers there. Don't go outside of that. Go to your prayer meetings, go to your church services, and that's it. But any type of research outside of that, they don't like. And I've noticed that, like, on my Rumble place, I have all my videos on all the platforms. But if you go to Rumble, where there's a large right-wing contingent there, I get thumbs down on my videos more than on
Hmm.
any other platform because it's all coming from fundamentalists.
Right.
But they do believe, as you correctly stated, that there is a battle for the soul, and not just figuratively speaking, literally speaking. They are afraid of atheism because let's cut to the chase. If the atheists are right and there is no higher power, and when you die, all there is worm food, then it's Darwinism 100%, and it's survival of the fittest, and anything goes. There's no
Hmm.
ramifications. If you can get away with it, you should do it as long as it benefits you.
Mm.
Because we're just animals and
And that's a
nothing really.
principle. I don't want to sound like I'm speaking on something that I'm not
Sure.
knowledgeable on, but it seems like a principle of Satanism. Do what
Yeah,
thou will. Do
of
whatever you
course
want.
it is. Of course, it's exactly what it is. And if you know now the Church of Satan, if you know anything about the Church of Satan, they will tell you that they don't believe in a literal Satan. They just believe in the concept of liberation, of doing whatever you want to do. So it's really strange. It's like this atheistic mindset inside of a church that's dedicated to Satan. It's weird. I don't
Hmm.
understand it completely, but that's what it is. If you talk to them, they'll say they don't believe in a literal Satan. They're basically
Hmm.
atheists.
Right.
Um, and I've always said that, look, if you do believe in God and his counterpart, because where there's a yin, there's a yang,
Mm.
then you have to believe that his what they want more than anything else is for people not to believe. Because as soon as you don't believe, because if you believed in God and you believed in Satan, Satan doesn't want you to believe in him, because then there's always that possibility that you might switch to the other side of the, other
Mm.
side of the equation. But if you don't believe in anything, then chaos ensues.
Right.
Anything goes. And that's, to me, what they really want. So what makes more sense than the Church of Satan saying, well, we're really atheists?
Right.
Because I think that's their ultimate goal anyway.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So, do you follow David Icke? Have you followed him, Ike? I guess over the years, that
I
guy seems
know
like an
I know
interesting
of him,
character.
but I don't know enough to really have a conversation on him.
Yeah, all this stuff is blowing my mind. Here I am searching for political identity. I was just trying to figure out if I was going to vote for Biden again, and I've gotten sidetracked because I'm so interested in all these conversations, and it's just a rabbit hole. And he's
Oh my
really,
goodness. So much so.
yeah, he's
So
almost like
much.
the king of the rabbit hole. But so politics for a second. Let's keep it mundane.
Okay.
Why is Biden so dangerous? Is he dangerous in your opinion?
Well, it's not Biden. It's my opinion, the people behind Biden, because I don't think Biden knows what he's doing.
Mm,
Um, he's clearly he clearly has dementia. I mean, come on. I mean, doctors are saying it. It's not
yeah,
me, it's
yeah,
everybody. He takes more time off than any president in history, so
right.
he's not the one making the decisions. And I feel we need somebody, in the Oval Office that's making the decisions.
Absolutely.
Um, that's my opinion. Um, are there some viable candidates on the Democratic side? I think so. They're just not
Are you thinking
running.
about Dean Phillips?
Yeah, I mean, he would be one. I mean,
Give me a
look,
guy who has a vision, who's competent, who's all there, right? Who can make a
yeah,
pitch at least.
right, of
I'd
course.
like to see that as well. Not to say that I look, Dean Phillips has some progressive policy ideas. And so
Hmm.
if I am trending where it looks like I've been trending, I'm going to reject them ultimately. But at least give me someone who can articulate what they believe in.
Well, that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. You want a leader that you can say, well, this is the guy making the decisions, or this is the woman making the
Right.
decisions. I'm
Right.
all for that. I just want the most qualified person there.
Yep.
Um, but right now, I'm not impressed with the performance of the administration. I got to be honest. Prices are through the roof, gas is through the roof. Right, I live in a very cold climate over here in Pennsylvania, and heating oil is insane. And I just don't feel the government is really trying to do what it can to help people out. They have an agenda and they're sticking to it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. I never voted for Trump, but I don't have Trump derangement syndrome. I really don't know why there was such an extreme reaction to him. I know people, I come from New Jersey. I know
Hmm.
people who knew Trump from his pre-presidency life, and
Hmm.
I get it. He was not well respected in the real estate community,
Sure.
and he didn't make a lot of friends. But doesn't the reaction to him tell you more about anything he's ever done? I mean, nobody's perfect, and perhaps Trump has done some gross things over the course of his life, but a lot of people have, and I just think you got to judge someone based on how they performed as president. And the Russia hoax and these people who hate Trump so fiercely are the ones that gave him all of his ammunition and all of his gas.
Yeah, and if you look at the primaries and how he's just his base is just sticking with him, and it doesn't matter how many memes you see on Twitter, and some of them are really bad. I gotta be honest. It's just galvanizing his base. And yeah, I mean, you do have to look at the record. Yes, he didn't make a lot of friends, and even when he was president, he didn't make a lot of friends.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but gas was low, and we were not in one single war his entire presidency. And you could look at the COVID thing one of two ways. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think he was blindsided by COVID, but in places like New York, when he sent the hospital ship Comfort to quarantine the COVID patients and Cuomo rejected it, I think that spoke more about the Democrats than it did about Trump. I mean, at least he was making an effort.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I mean, look, could he have done some things better? Of course. I mean, but anybody could have, I think.
Sure.
And I think anybody in his spot would have had a rough time no matter what.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think it's unfounded. I think, my God, I've never seen anybody um
So vilified.
treated,
Yeah.
yeah, vilified the
Right.
way this man has been. And I think a lot of it is unjustified. And yeah, like you said, nobody's perfect, and his past is sketchy, especially with women. I mean, come
Hmm.
on,
Yeah.
let's face it, it is.
100%.
But
But are we not allowed to judge a guy based on how he ran the country? And let's just
right,
keep it
right.
simple. We felt safe. We felt richer,
Case in
compared to
point,
now.
case in point, Bill Clinton was a great president. I will go on the record as saying if Bill Clinton was running today, I'd probably vote for him.
Mm,
I liked Bill Clinton, but look at his personal life.
right. Disaster.
Complete, but
Yeah.
he did a good job as president. He was great at reaching across the aisle and getting compromise. And I didn't have a problem. Everybody that I knew was like, "Oh, Bill Clinton is horrible, horrible." I'm like, "No, he's actually doing a pretty good job.
Mm,
The country's in a good place."
right.
And I felt that way with Trump too. So you know
I
what?
think, it must be something with the left. And I'm not trying to shit on the left, but I have to be honest and acknowledge that there is something coming from the left that is anti individual,
Hmm.
anti-American,
Hmm.
viewing white people, maybe even Jewish people, as oppressors. Where did this come from? Is this new, or has this always been in our society? This violent anti-oppressor attitude in 2020. Is it appropriate in your mind? Is there any element of it that's appropriate? Or straight white men to this day are ruling the world? Is there any validity to that?
Of course not. Um, in fact, I mean, we're probably the least racist we've ever been in our entire history. And I don't want to talk about the roots of racism, like a lot of people say KKK were all Democrats. And,
Mm,
I get it. Yeah, yeah, okay. But today it seems like, I mean, the Democrats of the 60s were all anti establishment. Now they're all pro establishment. I mean, where did that come from? When did that switch take
right.
place? Now they're all pro government. Now it's the Republicans that are saying we want less government in our lives. Um, and let me tell you something. I'm not defending Republicans. I mean, there are some corrupt Republicans out there, and they call them rhinos, a Republican in name only. I think it's both sides. I think right now it's a battle of establishment versus libertarianism.
Hmm.
And I think that's where the real battle is right now. And that's the problem. That's why Republicans are losing, because the Republican Party is split between the libertarian wing of the Republican Party and the Rhino version,
And
which
is
is
that split happening mostly on war, do you think? Or is it also social issues?
is definitely social issues, especially the economy and government funding and things of that nature.
Mm,
Um, but the Democrats seem to be holding together, and I think that's why they're winning. My fear is that the moderate Democrats, like a lot of the Republicans, are not really pushing back against the Marxist contingent, which definitely exists. There's no
right.
question.
Right.
Um, and I think that's what we're battling right
Yeah.
now.
And so, on one hand, we can ask the fantastical question that we already talked about briefly, which is there some amazing battle, spiritual battle going on undergirding this political division, or not? Or is it simply people who think that the best way to organize a society is communistically versus people who don't? It doesn't really matter. The point is that this battle in politics is happening, and there is a strong difference of opinion. I mean, capitalism free versus communism. The one thing libertarians seem to, I think, have in their going for them is they can say to the progressives, "Hey, we're not for corporate oligarchies. We're not for crony capitalism. We're for real capitalism." So would you call yourself more of a libertarian than a conservative, do you think? What is the difference in your mind even?
I think I'm pretty conservative, but I would consider myself a real conservative. Um,
What's that?
uh, I believe in traditional family values. I believe in less government and rugged individualism. I mean, I do like that. Do I think we should eliminate all social programs? Oh, absolutely not. And that's where the split comes. A true
Hmm.
libertarian means no government in our lives other than infrastructure and military. That's it. But look, you can't let people starve. And I think social programs, not Social Security is not a social program, by the way, because we pay into it. But I think it's necessary because I don't think people are disciplined by and large to save for their retirements. So, it's keeping people in their golden years from starving and having a roof over their head. So I believe there in social programs. I also believe that there are things that we need to be doing to help the poor and to keep society civil. Now, does that mean I want everybody from every country crossing the border so that I could pay for them? No, I don't believe in that either. That's where my
Hmm.
conservatism comes in.
Hmm.
We need to have laws and we need to enforce them. So
And
I
the
think,
social programs that we have shouldn't disincentivize the nuclear family,
of
that kind of
course
thing.
not.
So
Right, right, right.
you're saying, hey, have these programs, but make sure that we're incentivizing good behavior, and that
Absolutely.
family is a big part of that.
Right, right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I do believe in social programs. I'd be the first one to say, keep SNAP benefits going for those who can't afford food. Um, but when I see illegal immigrants, their kids getting free college education when my daughter is in hock up to here with student loans, I don't think that's fair. And I think everybody should be treated the same. I mean, even on taxes, I believe in a flat tax. I really do believe we need
Hmm.
to get a flat tax in the country. Um, Decide on a percentage, and that's what everybody pays, no matter what you make. And the
Mm,
people that make more are going to pay more. So
right.
why do we need all of these loopholes and a tax code that's as thick as a phone book? What we
Hmm.
need is a simple tax system. We'll all pay into it, but it needs to be fair.
I'll tell you, you're making a good pitch for classic conservatism for me because I come from the progressive background and
I
I'm really
understand.
flirting with libertarianism. But that sounds really reasonable. Don't throw away the social programs,
No.
but reform things, make it more reasonable,
Yep.
fix the incentives, and keep taking care of people. I like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
And maybe that's where Trump, not him per se, literally is, but maybe MAGA could be there too.
Well, yeah. I mean, the MAGA contingent is all over the map. I mean, I'm going to be the first to say that. You have your conservatives, and then you have your extreme right wing QAnons, and that makes me nuts. But that being said, there is a common goal in all of it, and that is to keep the Marxism at bay and just stop racking up national debt, because what's going to happen is, and Trump has already said it, and I have to agree with him, there's going to come a time we're going to end up defaulting on all of this debt. And
Hmm.
that's why even China, they stopped buying American debt because it's getting to be too much.
Mm.
And it's going to come a time when it's going to go through a correction. And that's what's going to cause problems. People are worried about World War III. It's going to cause World War III? Us saying, you know what? We can't pay you guys back, and they're going to be
Hmm.
like, well, we're going to just, take all of
Take
this
it.
in your
Right.
country. And
Wow.
then the country is going to be like, no, this is a sovereign nation. We're not going to allow you to take all this property. And that's what's going to end up causing trouble. So people don't understand it's cause and effect. You raise taxes, inflation goes up. You give away free money, inflation goes up. As inflation goes up, people start spending less, the economy's in trouble. I mean, it's just this really wild ride that we're on right now. And by not producing energy, this makes me nuts too.
Hmm.
I'm all for electric cars and I'm all for alternative energies, but you have to have those in place first before you decide to stop drilling for oil.
Mm.
You
Right.
got to have
It's a
those in
matter of
place
timing.
first. Right, absolutely.
Timing and logistics and management. And that's why
Yeah.
that's what Trump was good at, management.
Exactly. And look at this. It's like the Democrats are even against natural gas. It's the cleanest burning fuel on the planet. It literally has no emissions. And yet they won't even allow production of that. So I'm like, if they want us to go back to horse and buggy, I mean, just say so, because I don't
Yeah.
understand. There's really, the electric cars are a double-edged sword because you need something to generate the electricity, and you either have to go nuclear or you have to go fossil fuel power plants. There's no in between right now. And what they have to go through to mine the lithium batteries in Africa is unbelievable. That the strip mining, half the African continent's going to be gone before you know it, with all the strip mining to get the lithium.
Mm,
And so electric cars right now aren't the answer either.
mm.
I look at I wouldn't be opposed to I mean, they have public buses now that are fueled by natural gas. Maybe they can do cars that way. I don't know.
Right. So coming up against the clock here, and what do you think is the most powerful message that you can give the masses? Let's assume this is not the case, but assume this is going to reach 1 million people. What do you want
Right.
them to know about politics or the world that you've spent in your career studying ghosts? What should we know?
Well, first of all, on the politics thing, Brian Tracy, I used to listen to him a lot. He's a coach, personal coach. He's very used to be very famous, is so somewhat still, but he said the only measure that you should judge someone on is how they treat you. It doesn't matter your politics, it doesn't matter your religion, it's how they treat you. If they are a good person, that's the only measure you should be judging someone on.
Mm,
And I believe that. Okay, just to wrap up, on the tails of just it's the golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated. I
mm.
believe that. I'm 100%. I don't care. You know what? Race, religion has never meant anything to me. It's always if the person's a jerk or not a jerk, So, if they want to know about ghosts, read my book, Family Spirits. Um, I also have Family Spirits 2, which just came out. And if anybody wants to be a magician, we just published the Magic School Archives. It's my biggest book to date, hardcover. And
Yeah.
those are all available on Barnes and Noble at ghosthunter.ws, www.ghosthunter.ws. Um, and that's basically it, unless you have any final questions for me.
No, no, I'm grateful to have connected with you. As you said in the beginning, it's been a long time coming, and I'm really glad to have spoken with you. I
Yeah,
think
me
you're
too.
you're a great guy, and I'm interested. I've always been interested in magic, and so it makes sense. As kids, we liked magic, and so the sense of wonder again. And so it's
Right,
nice to
right.
talk to someone about these topics. And if I want to drill down further, which I think I do, I need to read your books.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, ghost hunting, start with the first book, Family Spirits: The Adventures and Evidence of Gallo Family Ghost Hunters. It'll tell you everything you want to know about the paranormal, along with all of our evidence and experiences. And
Mm,
everything's 100% true. It's not embellished like the ghost hunting shows. It's all real. It'll even tell you where to go on the internet to see the actual videos of what you're reading about in the book. And in the Magic School Archives is basically 400 pages of my own material to
mm.
teach people how to be a magician.
Amazing. Well, thank you for talking to me a little, teasing, I should say, those subjects, which I'm really interested in, and for talking to me about politics. I found that really helpful,
Well,
actually.
I've always admired you, Brian, and I'm going to say this publicly. You are one of the most level-headed people in this field that I have ever met.
Hmm.
You are truly searching for political identity. You're not just saying it, and you are very fair. And I respect that more than I can tell you.
Thank you so much. That's
True.
really meaningful, and I appreciate that. And man, it's great to have talked to you. I'm a huge
Yeah.
fan of yours, for the same
Thank you.
reasons. So thank you so much.